Welcome to the Zarlequan Infamous! Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with a full-time author, every author's dream, who specializes in crafting gripping crime thrillers and horror stories that keep readers on the edge of their seat. He's not limited to a single genre. Our guest has dabbled in a range of storytelling styles. We delve into their latest work right now with Dirty Deeds 11.
Conversations with indie authors.
Please welcome to the show, Armand Rosamilia.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for saying my name right too. I always appreciate that.
Oh, I'm so glad. Can you know what? First of all, congratulations being a full-time author, because that is every author's dream, is to be able to make it doing just that. So awesome. And how did that come about? How did you end up becoming a writer and author?
The fun part is we all have a different, we all have a different lane we're in. We all do this different. I think if writing was that cookie cutter way of hey, do this, and this, and then you can be a full-time author, that would be pretty boring. For me, I've written since I was 12 years old. I mean, I picked up my first Dean Koontz book when I was 12, and I was like, this is what I want to do. And it took me till I was 40 to actually be able to make enough money doing it. And it happened because I was working retail management for 20 years and hated every second of it. And they wanted me to move to another store like an hour farther away without any money. And retail management money is garbage. And so I said, no, just lay me off. Like, be nice. And they gave me a severance, and I left. And while I was looking for another job, I really said, you know what, I've been writing, I've been doing short stories, I've been doing all this stuff, and I've been published a few times, but I really want to see if I can get serious. And I got lucky because 2009 was Amazon ebooks, and it was the Wild West of just throwing stuff up there, and at the time there was, I don't know, like 12 zombie books. So I wrote a zombie book. I mean, now there's like 12 every second that come out. And so it was great. The money was really good, and I started going with that. And then the best part is the girl that I was dating at the time, we broke up because she wanted me to get in another job, and she wanted the white picket fence and all that. And I was like, I don't want that. My kids are getting older. I don't want all that. I want to be able to live my dream. And she couldn't get that, so we parted. And and it's for everybody. They always say, well, what's the point? Well, whatever the point is for you, it depends. It depends on how much money do you need, how much freedom do you need to do these things, and can you do it? And that's kind of the thing right now. So I've been married 7 years. I married a wonderful woman who is total numbers. She's a commercial property manager. She's not creative. She admits it. She loves to read. But she's numbers. So when we first started dating in 2012, she said, how much money do you make? How much money do you make? Right? And I said, oh, I do pretty good. Well, how much? I said, I don't know, whatever. I said, listen, I was able to pay off my car. I was able to pay off credit cards, take care of my kids, all that. But I had no idea how much I made. So she said, well, do you keep track? And I said, not at all. I said, I get a bunch of W-2s in, and I fill out my taxes at the end of the year, kind of thing. So she said, well, do you want to know? And I said, yeah, I wouldn't know how to do that. So she's like, let me make you a spreadsheet and all the money in and out. So she did that. She's like, how many words do you write a year? I'm like, I don't know. It's a lot. well, do you have a number? I said, I have no idea. It's several. It's maybe 100,000. I don't know, something like that. And then so she made me a spreadsheet to keep track of my daily writing and weekly and monthly and yearly. And I was like, wow, I'm writing about 450,000 words a year writing, and I'm selling most of that as being sold. So that was kind of neat. So like, I'm still using that 8 or 9 years later. And it motivates me to keep going, So a lot of people will say in interviews, they'll say, well, what's the motivation for you to write every day, to do this for a living and to do that. And I say the fear of going back into retail management, you know, the fear of that, you know, six days a week, 80 hours a week for garbage pay, dealing with customers, dealing with awful employees, all of that stuff. You know, I work 7 days a week now and probably 100 hours a week, but I love every, you know, every second of it. It's I'm working for myself. If I don't do well, it's my own fault. If I do really great, my wife says she'll take credit for it. So either way, we're fine.
That's perfect. That's interesting how actually her coming in and doing the the difficult work of the numbers and actually putting everything on paper so you could see what's actually happening made a huge difference for you. That's
yeah,
really awesome.
I have no doubt I would be nowhere right now without her doing the management side. So like she even does my Amazon ads
Oh,
because I
perfect.
can't figure it out. And
Yeah.
so she does it, and we make really good money because she does the analytic part of it, and she's also a thriller reader. So she knows, you know, she'll look at ads from a reader's point of view. What would the readers be looking? What are the keywords for them? Whereas I'm a writer, so I'm thinking of, you know, other authors and different things, and so it really helps when we work together on that. I mean, we can't work together. We'll kill each other if we try to. We learned that in the beginning, like putting furniture together. It was like one of us is doing this and the other one is going in the other room, or you know, we're not doing this.
Totally understand that. Can you talk about tell us about what role does coffee, bourbon, and M&Ms play in your writing process?
So I am a huge fan of those three things. Maybe too much of the M&Ms at times, but that's my thing. I once did a book signing a few years ago, and the readers were bringing me M&Ms, and I think we ended up with like 19 pounds of M&Ms or something ridiculous like that. They just kept coming up and giving me bags of M&Ms, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." And I'm throwing it in a crate behind me. And at the end of the signing, I was like, "We have a lot of M&Ms for me to
That's
eat
funny.
here, and I'm going to eat every last M&M." So, in fact, for our wedding, we did a candy bar, and so we had M&Ms, and they were like the pink and the green ones. It happened to be around Easter, so we had like the paisley colors. So we had to take out all of the purple and the green M&Ms is what we were bringing. So all the rest of them, I was like, let me see how many I could fit in my mouth. I fit 87 M&Ms in my mouth, and my wife was like, "What? How are you going to chew those?" I'm like, "Oh,
Oh,
yeah, pretty much, yeah." But so that's it.
that's
I'm a
amazing.
I you know, coffee. You got to start every day with coffee. I collect a lot of different coffee. I'm not a snob. I'm a Dunkin' Donuts fan. I even wrote a nonfiction book about Dunkin' Donuts. And I'm not a Starbucks fan. I don't like dark roast. I don't like strong coffee. I like coffee that you put a lot of cream and sugar in, and
Mhm.
you don't taste the coffee. That's kind of good for me. But I collect tons. We have tons and tons of bags of coffee and K cups and everything else, and I have a whole wall of bourbon that again, a collector's. My wife doesn't drink at all, but anytime she's out and she sees a cool bottle of something or a good story behind something, she's like, "Hey, this is Matthew McConaughey's bourbon. You know, we'll add this to the wall."
That's awesome. That's awesome. You guys are a team.
Right.
That's good. That's good. Can you tell us about your newest Dirty Deeds 11? What is this about?
So Dirty Deeds started in 2005. Amazon had done a thing, I don't know if you remember, called Kindle Scout, where they took basically they started their own Kindle press line, and they were going to take these books, Kindle Scout, and they would give you a contract, and it was like a $1,500 advance, and they would put all their marketing and their push behind it. And I had started to write this really dark horror book, only a couple of chapters, about this hitman who killed children and then had to deal with that. And it was really dark. I mean, I have 3 kids, so I was like, I don't know if I could write this. And when Kindle Scout, when I saw the thing for Kindle Scout, it said no horror books, but we're looking for romance and thrillers, the number one and number two, you know, genres. And I said, you know what, I can change this. So I made the killer where he doesn't actually kill the children, he saves them. So like say a senator or a politician or an athlete or a drug cartel leader, somebody who has a kid and doesn't want that kid around. They've had a mistress or whatever, and the mistress has a child. So they pay this guy, James Gaffney, a lot of money to go to kill this child, to kidnap the kid and kill him. And so he does that, but instead of killing the child, he actually has a system where he moves and saves the child, gives them to parents who can't have their own children, does things like that. And there's a lot of humor in it. It's a lot of fun. And when I wrote it, I was like, you know what? I don't want, it's not a horror book. It's a crime thriller book. And I want, no profanity, no crazy violence, no sex. I just want it to like one of those great mass market kind of books. And they loved it. They took it. I think they said that like 15,000 books submitted in the year or two they were doing it, and only 200 got accepted. Dirty Deeds was one of those. And great marketing. I sold a ton of copies, but they wanted a book a year. And I said, you can't put this, it's a cliffhanger. Number one, I'm going to get killed on reviews if I don't have book 2 out within like 3 or 4 months. And so book 2 on, I do my own. So now book 11 comes out. So the first one was released in January 2016. So we're a few years. I've done about roughly 2 books a year. And now the 11th one is coming out. And then in March next year, the 12th and final book of the series will be out. And so we followed James Gaffney's journey, through a bunch of different things. So this one, it deals with, there's a microphone on the cover, and it deals with these 2 podcasters who have kind of figured out who he is. And they're doing this podcast. And he's also on the run from the FBI, and he's also on the run from the New Jersey Mafia. So he's doing all these things, and he's also trying to figure out who these guys are that are trying to expose him, and all that. And then no one knows that he's actually saving these children. So he's got this reputation as this stone cold killer. So, it all kind of works in there. So book 12 is already written, and it was actually really sad to write the last book of a series after so many years. But my other crime thriller series are also tied in. So I have First Coast Thriller series that came out last year, which is a 6-book series. And it has some of the same FBI agents are in both books. And what I'm writing right now, as we're recording this, we're doing is writing in the first week or so of NaNoWriMo. So I'm writing a called Down and Dirty, which takes a character or 2 from each of those 2 series and puts them in a brand new series. And my goal will be to do 6 books every year of a brand new series, but in that same world. So you might see old characters from Dirty Deeds or from the First Coast Thriller, whatever. You might see them going forward. And it's really, for me, it's creating that world. And it's also, thrillers are real big on series. I mean, I do great. So once I said I'm going to do a 6-book series, and I'm going to make sure everybody knows that this is the 6th and final book on that. Once that 6th book came out, it was like I tripled my sales overnight, because everybody's like, okay, good, I can read an entire series now. So I'm hoping that happens with Dirty Deeds as well. Everybody jumps on all 12 books.
I can understand that. I've done that before. Like, on Netflix or something, I'll wait until they have everything out. I don't want to wait a week for the next one. No, I want to binge the whole season.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So how do you prepare to write these books? Like, what is your creative process?
I'm a total pantser. On these, probably I did the most work I've ever done, which was literally creating some of the initial characters and pacing in my living room while I have awful handwriting. While my wife basically, I said, okay, the main character's name is this, and he looks like this, and we're doing, and I would just like info dump all these different random ideas, and then she would throw stuff back at me as well. So we kind of did a lot of that back and forth. Like with the First Coast Thriller series, I'm like, I need a name. He's an ex-cop. He has a gambling problem. He's a repo man now, and that's kind of how we get into. And it's set in here, and it's set in Jacksonville Beach, in Florida. And she said, okay. And I said, I need a good name. I need I need some hard consonants. And she said, what about Clayton? That was her grandfather's name, Clayton. I said, all right, we'll do that. And then she said, Conway. I said, okay, because that's the other grandfather. I was like, Clayton Conway, perfect. And that's how and I said, but he hates being called Clay. So and just talking through and imagining who these people are without giving them any plot or anything else. And for me, it's visual. So I try not to do too much with descriptions of characters because I want the reader to look who that person is in their minds. But for me, I'll go, okay, this woman, the bartender, she looks like that woman from the Suits show, the redhead, and this one looks like Marissa Tomei, and this one looks like Kevin Hart, and this guy looks like the comedian Sinbad, and I'm just throwing out for my own visual that I know who the characters look like. I know blonde, brunette, whatever, body types and different things, but I try not to dump a lot of that into it because I want the reader to the idea for me as a reader, I want to feel like I could be this character. While I'm lying on the couch eating M&Ms off of my belly, I still feel like I can go out there and save the world, because you picture yourself as that character if you don't have a ton of description on that person. So I'm trying to be aware of that. But for me, it's easier because again, I'm not writing a lot of stuff down. It's a bunch of Post-it notes all over my desk on different things, and that's kind of it. And at the end, I'm like, oh, I'm done with this series or whatever, and I pick up 12 Post-it notes and I put it in the filing cabinet.
But you do keep them.
Yeah, I always keep them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Can you tell everybody where can they find Amazon? Where is there anywhere else we can find your books online? And where do we find you online? Where are you most active?
So Amazon obviously is where all my stuff is. A lot of my stuff so I'm a hybrid. So I self-publish and I also work with a lot of small presses. Most of all my self-published stuff is all Kindle Unlimited, and so you can read them that way. So Amazon is the main place for me, and ArmandRosamilia.com has all of my social media stuff, and I write live on Twitch 3 or 4 times a week. So you can find me there in the afternoon, sometimes at night, and I'm literally writing live and talking to people in the chat room. So it's neat as a writer because you're by yourself all day. So 1 o'clock every afternoon, I get to jump in, and there's 5 or 6 other writers, especially this time of year with NaNoWriMo, because we're all trying to finish that book. And so it's really neat to say, hey Frank, what are you, what's your word count? Hey Tom, what's your word count now? So that's kind of neat to be able to see where everybody is as well.
That's really valuable for writers. That's awesome. I'm glad that you do that. It's good when an author has found some sort of success that they are sharing that and helping other writers who haven't got there. That's amazing. And building a community. That's beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing all of this vast knowledge that you have. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on. This was fun.
Hi, I'm Brittani Starr from the Zarlequan Indieverse, and today I wanted to come on to talk to you about the Film Fusion film project that we have going on. Right now, I'm looking for groups to film only on their phone. It can be any kind of phone, just on your phone. And we each record 10 minutes, and they're each shorts, but when they are put together, they become one cohesive movie. So everyone is invited to join. You don't have to be a professional. You don't have to really know what you're doing. You just have to have a desire to try to make it look as good as possible. I'm not a filmmaker, but I've been watching YouTube videos on how to do take some more cinematic video with my phone, how to make it look as professional as possible. So I'd like you to do the same. You don't have to speak English. We can always dub it in more than one language so that every audience can enjoy this. We each write our own script, but if there is a screenwriter that would like to get involved and look over and try to make the entire script more cohesive with each other, that would be amazing as well. We can talk about editing. We can each edit our own part and then figure out how we can edit it all together. please email at zarlequan@protonmail.com or go to our website, zarlequan.com, for more information. Thank you. Today we have with us an author who has not only ventured into the world of children's literature, but also the young adult genre. She is a 4-time published children's author, and her latest work, The Truth is a Lie, tackles a deeply personal and compelling story inspired by her own life experiences. As a full-time writer and writing coach, she's passionate about storytelling and helping others share their stories.
Conversations with Indie Authors.
Please welcome Sally Lotz to the show.
Thank you. You made me sound so important.
Aren't you, though?
Yeah.
We were just talking about your book, and so it's based upon your life experiences at 15 in a cult. First, can you tell us what is a cult, and then share a little bit about the book, please?
I can tell you what a cult is. So most people think a cult is groups living on compounds out in the woods, or sister wives, or the women, have to wear very long dresses and braid their hair. That's a cult, one kind of a cult, but there's many others. So typically a cult is it doesn't have to be a religion, by the way, but this one's religious, and you have a leader or a group of leaders. And the strict belief system is you believe what they're telling you. And if you don't, then you're an outsider. Their way is the only way. Their way is the only truth. And they have very strict rules to keep you in place as far as things you're allowed to do and not to do. Outside thinking, critical thinking, research is always frowned upon, and you are considered, the cult I grew up in, you were considered evil. You were considered of the devil if you did those things. You're typically shut off from family and friends. And you're made to feel like anybody who's outside of your circle is evil. There's something wrong with them, and you're to stay away from them. So that's a cult in a nutshell.
Okay, so the punishments would be emotional because you're being taken away, separation from your family and loved ones. Were there any other kind of like physical punishments that would happen?
Now in the one that I was in, there was no physical ramifications from the cult. I did grow up in an abusive home, so I did have the physical, but their belief system is more of a mental and an emotional breakdown, so that you rely upon the elders and the organization versus your own instincts and heart and beliefs.
Right. That makes sense. So what you did was make this into an interesting story in your book instead of like, here's a memoir. This is turned into, so it's real life mixed with some colorful, fun things.
Yes, because I write for children, and young adults is in the publishing world still falls into the children's category. I wanted to write my story in a way that would be heard and read by my audience. And they don't read memoirs unless I am somebody dead. I'm Taylor Swift, or
Brittani Spears. She just released hers.
But who's reading Brittani's? Not young adults. Adults are reading that, right? Mostly adults are reading that. Now, if Taylor Swift put out her memoir, that's going to get bought by everybody. Yeah. But and I really wanted to be able to share my story in a way that age group could get something out of it. And if it stops them from joining a cult, or if they have someone in their life, that's my message. I took my entire life, but combined it down into a span of when I was 15. And I also removed some people because I have 6 siblings, and I added a little bit from other people who I met afterwards, who had went through the same things as me. I added some of their stories because I found out afterwards how many people had the same story as me. So yeah.
So can you help us? So adults sometimes come across a cult, and so what would be the signs like this is a cult? But then also, what if you're a child and you don't really have a choice, because as a child you just have to do whatever your parents are doing, so you would join
Right.
this church and not really have a choice. How do you get out of it once you become an adult from being a child in the cult?
So that's a couple of questions. One, I didn't have a choice. I was forced. There is no way out. The way out means you lose everything that you have. And that's the big drama in my book, is she has to make a choice. And one way leads her to stay and everything bad will continue, or the other way is go, and that's the place that she's not allowed to go. It, to her, it means death and destruction. So that's also a sign of a cult. You can't leave without some consequences of some kind. So the other, I forgot the other question. I'm sorry. There was a couple in there. How
What
did
are signs?
Oh, signs.
Yeah, signs that
Okay.
it could be a cult.
So keep this in mind. It's not just religions. So anytime where someone kind of takes you aside and says, hey, I got something for you. That to me, my red flags go up. Okay. You've got something for me. When they begin to direct you away from people that you love and trust, maybe you're going through a hard time. Maybe somebody close to you just passed away. Maybe you had a breakup with a boyfriend. Maybe you don't get the job you're wanting, or you've just had a bunch of struggles. And that's when they will come in and say, hey, I've got this great thing for you. You know, this really helped me. It got my mind on straight. It helped me to grow as a person. Or if it's religious related, they'll say, well, you're not right with God, and these are the things you need to do. And they start cutting you off. It's a very slow process. So those are the things I look out for first, is who's coming to me and why are they coming to me? And can I research them?
Okay.
Research them.
Yeah. I'm hearing things that are very similar to an abusive partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. So those seem like the same signs, like, okay, no, they're promising to be my all, but they don't want me around my family. Like,
you are 100% right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
but now this is a whole group.
It's a whole group. And, I say it's not just religions, because it goes there's some business groups that do this too. And there's other groups that do the same thing. The Nexium, I don't know if you heard of Nexium, was a big cult, and they weren't religious. They were all about empowering you and teaching you to be a better human, similar to Scientology.
Oh gosh, Scientology is an interesting one.
Yeah. So yeah, it's also a continued promise of something going to happen, but it never happens.
It does.
Oh, you got to give me more money, or you got to do better. You're not doing enough. It's always that promise is just like right there, but you never quite get it.
You can never attain it. You're just jumping through hoops all the time.
Yeah. Similar to an abusive relationship. Right.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had a lot of authors on talking about that exact thing. Like, here's how to avoid an abusive relationship. And I'm like, these are exactly.
It is. The mind is an amazing thing. And I think sometimes we want to go for the thing that sounds good because it sounds good. And we just shut everything else down. And that's where you need to be on alert.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Wow. So what message do you hope people get from this book?
The thing that I share with everybody about this book is it not only is it a source of awareness for this particular cult, but it also is, because it's for kids, for young adults, it's also being kind to other people, because you don't know what they're going through. For me as a kid, I wasn't allowed to talk to anybody at school. I wasn't allowed to make friends. There was people in my life, though, who were still kind to me. Even though I was awkward and like never fit in, there was a few people who were still very kind to me. And though I remembered those, and those in my mind were like, hey, not everybody out there is terrible, is the devil. you know, and just look for these signs, you know, you could be the one person that says something nice to somebody, you know, even handing them a piece of paper at school, or giving them your pen, or just saying something like, I like your, you know, like your dress today. That could mean the world to somebody. You never know.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
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 I was actually just talking this morning to someone, and I was saying how, you know, I think the people that have the biggest impact on our lives are when we're going through something really hard, they're still kind and gracious. And they leave a lasting impression. The people that were mean and nasty, yeah, they leave a lasting impression, but not a positive one.
But not a good one. Yeah. I mean, I've had people sometimes when I've been in a really bad place, you know, just a stranger come up to me and say, you know, you have like this amazing, you know, spirit about you. And I'm like, oh, if you only knew what I was going through right now. But, you know, somebody to come up to me and say that to me just made my day and made me feel better. It may not have been true, but it made me feel better and kind of perked my spirit up, gave me a little hope for something. So, yeah.
Hope, that's important.
That is in my book too.
I was gonna say, how did you find hope when, I mean, because you were a child and you didn't have a choice. How did you escape, and how did you find hope to escape?
You know, we talk about a cult, which already is very diminishing to your spirit and your persona. And then I also lived in a very abusive home, where the cult was like, that's okay. Just rely on, I don't want to say the name of the cult, but I can, just rely on the person in charge, and they'll take care of it eventually. Or you're not doing enough. You need to be better. It's your fault that you're being abused. That was the kind of stuff I heard. I was able to, at a very young age, and that's a story about my butterflies, to separate God from the cult. That's what I kind of held on to, because I could see the lies that I was being told over and over and over again. And if you have something that calls themselves the truth, but you have to lie about it all the time and cover it up, how can that be true? I could never come to grips with that. You can't call yourself the truth, but be lying, right? It doesn't make sense.
It's confusing.
Because I could see the lies, you know, all the time. I was taught how to lie in the cult. Like, when people ask you this, you say this, you don't tell them the truth, because they wouldn't understand.
No, wait, what is that? Can you tell us exactly what that was? Because that is like, what?
You want to know the name of the cult?
No, okay. I don't want to get in, like started. No, I'm curious. What would they tell you if someone asks you this, say this other thing?
Okay,
like,
so if somebody asks you if we shun, the answer is no. If they ask you again in the same conversation, the answer is, well, sometime, but only if the person has done something really bad.
Only if they deserve it. Oh.
Which the answer is, those are both lies. They do shun, and it can be for anything. It doesn't have to be something bad.
Yeah.
And then the people who are doing bad don't get shunned.
Right.
So that in my mind was like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. You know, even as a 7, 8, 9-year-old, I was also told to lie. We had to record how much time we did going out. That'll give it away. Going out, knocking on doors, and you had to do a certain amount each week, or you got in trouble. So I learned very early on, if it was only a 3, to make sure I changed that to a 5 or a 6, because a 5 or a 6 was good, but a 3 was bad.
Oh,
so, and I was a kid.
Right. Oh, a child. Okay.
3 hours is not good, but if I put a 6 on there, which I didn't do, which is a lie, I won't get in trouble. But if I put down the truth, I will get in trouble.
So what does getting in trouble look like? Having a talk from like a head person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I actually had when I was 15, which is in my book, which was my last straw, and which is how I got out.
So you got out as a teenager? Okay.
Yeah. So, well, I was kicked out, but I got out.
That's why
Same thing.
Where did you go at 15?
So my parents had gotten divorced very, very early on in my life. I was about 2. And my dad was in the Navy, so my dad was never around. And plus, being in a cult, my mom did not want me having a relationship with my dad or his large family of 8 siblings, or my grandmother, or my grandfather. So I didn't know anybody in that side of my family. So after I was kicked out or shunned, I had to stay in the house for like a month where nobody talked to me, until my dad was back from where he was deployed. And then I went to live with my dad.
Oh, that's
So I
nice.
was plopped out of this very strict, abusive home, and this regiment of every day and everything in my life was decided for me, from the socks I was going to wear, to what I was going to say, to my TV, to a normal home where I could be 15, but it was a culture shock for me. It was very, I had a really hard time coping with that. Plus, I did not trust men at all, because there was no man in my life that was a good man. They were all either deep in the cult, or it was my stepfather. So here I'm living with, I was a mess. But I still smiled.
So, well, honestly, what occurred to me was you were not allowed to make choices, not even like what color socks. So when you got out and you're trying to dress yourself, did you find that difficult to even like go pick out clothing? Like, I don't know what I like.
I still to this day can't really shop. I'm a terrible shopper. I decided I'm going to buy everything black. Right? I don't have to worry about it. Yeah. And then for me, I had to go with my dad.
He's like, I don't know. Goodness gracious.
I didn't know anything. So I kind of just emulated some of what the other girls had at school, and just tried to do that. But that was, trial and error.
Yeah, those little things, honestly, I don't think people think about, but honestly, that's a really like, what am I doing? I've never.
It is, yeah. But I wouldn't wear stuff that normal kids would wear. So like all my shirts were like this, right? And but I still don't like to wear dresses. I will wear them, but I'm not like the lady who has a lot of dresses.
Yeah.
I start cringing.
So if you grew up in this cult, then so what happened now? Do you still go to a church, or any church, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said early on, I was able to separate that this is not God. This is their fake God that they created to do what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was never angry at God. He always kind of showed me that there was going to be a way, that I was just keep going. I gotcha. So, so I'm not a religious person. I don't go to like a church that's full of ceremony and all that. So I'm a person of faith, and I'm very careful about where I go and where I attend. So I look for the red flags, and then if I see them, I'm gone.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But now you're just more hyper alert, because now you're looking for it. You're seeing it. And that changes relationships too.
Yeah.
Personal relationships, that changes the dynamic and how you interact with new people and people that are already there. Are you more apt to just cut something off quickly if you see something, even if you've developed feelings?
I probably wouldn't even go into it, because I could already, my first husband, I got married, by the way, when I was just turned 20. And he was emotionally abusive and mentally abusive, because that's what I knew. So that's what I went for. So, and I never knew that until I was telling one of my friends that I didn't, I couldn't talk to my husband. He would never talk to me. He goes, well, that's not good. I was like, it is. So, that's one of the things that I kind of look for, is somebody else's emotional well-being. Those are the questions I ask. I ask them about their family. I ask them, I happen to be single, so I ask them about their family, but not for the reason they think. I'm listening to how they talk about their family members and their friends and their life. And if I hear keywords, I'm like, okay, have a great day.
I think that's important. I think it's also important to go meet their family and see, how do they talk to their mom? How does their dad treat their mom, and what are their dynamics? Because what you grew up in, what you see every single day, whether it's conscious or not, that's exactly what you're going to end up doing. And most of the time it is unconscious. And so we go down these paths and we're like thinking, well, cognitively, yes, I would act in a different way, but you're not thinking about it because that's what you know.
Yeah. So if they get to that point, then yes. Most of the gentlemen I'm dating, their parents are elderly, and we're talking about now they have kids who are in their 20s and 30s. So I've heard men say terrible things about their daughters. And I'm like, or women. And I'm like, I'm a woman, right? She goes, but you're different. I'm like, yeah, no, sorry.
Yeah, that's what I tell my daughter too. I'm like,
stick together. We stick together.
Yeah, we're gonna need to do that. Thanks, though. Yeah. A lot of times, once you get to know them even more, you're like, I don't want to be different anymore. You're a jerk. Don't let me be the different one.
I think I don't like to, put labels on people, but that's what I mean. I do talk to them and I ask them questions, and it's their responses to get them to the next step. So, or not.
Or not. Totally up to you. Can you tell us all where we can find your book and where can we connect with you online?
Sure. My book is both on Amazon and Barnes & Noble website, or you can go to my website, which is sallylotz.com. I have a link for my book there. You can get an autographed copy if you want. And my social media contacts are all there. I mostly hang out on Instagram and LinkedIn for my business people, but I also have a secret TikTok page. So that is where I talk about the cult, and that's the only place I talk about it. So if you're interested in what it is like to grow up cultish, I do about one video a week. That's all I can. That's all I can do.
I feel that. I really appreciate you coming on today and sharing. I mean, these are some big topics. I like to dive into big topics because you know what? People need to understand about this, that this stuff is everywhere. And like you said, it's not just religious. This is like what to look for in a partner. This could be a woman too, woman, male. It does not matter. It's not gendered. If you see someone behaving in these ways, just say no.
100%. And it's businesses. Been there, seen that. Yeah.
Oh, I've seen that too. Like some businesses are ran pretty cultish, and it's very strange. Like they're like, we're a family.
Run.
So I think this is an important topic that is helpful for people, whether it's a difficult one or not. The difficult ones are usually more important. So thank you for coming on and sharing such personal things. I really appreciate it. So thank you, Sally Lotz.
Are you an independent filmmaker or aspiring creator with a passion for storytelling? Imagine joining forces with like-minded visionaries to create something extraordinary. Introducing Film Fusion Unite the Vision, a groundbreaking cinematic collaboration like no other. 9 individuals or groups contributing a 10-minute segment coming together to craft a full-length cinematic minute masterpiece. Collaboration brings innovation, the meeting of minds, a fusion of talents, and a chance to learn, grow, and inspire. Here's how it works. 9 individuals or groups, each with their own unique style and storytelling, come together to embark on a collective journey. Each contributor creates a 10-minute segment that fits within the overarching narrative. These segments combine seamlessly, forming a cohesive and unforgettable full-length movie. When you join Film Fusion Unite the Vision, you get more than just a segment in a film. You get a platform to shine. You'll experience networking, learning, and a chance to build your creative portfolio. Are you ready to unite your vision with others, creating a cinematic masterpiece? Don't miss this opportunity. Join Film Fusion, Unite the Vision, and be part of something extraordinary. Let's unite, let's create, and let's inspire the world with our stories. Together, we are Film Fusion. Unite the Vision.
The Zarlequan Indieverse.
If you enjoyed this show today, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends.